Chapter 1. You are more than your job.
Take a deep breath.
Not because you are tired, but because for the first time today, you are about to listen to something that has nothing to do with your work.
No deadlines. No targets.
No performance reviews. Just you. Let me ask you a simple question.
Who are you?
Most people don't answer this question honestly. They answer it quickly. I'm an engineer. I'm a manager. I work in IT. I'm a doctor. Notice something? You didn't describe who you are. You described what you do. And that confusion, that single misunderstanding, is silently destroying millions of lives. Because when your job becomes your identity, no success ever feels enough. From a very young age, you were trained, not guided, not inspired.
Trained.
As a child, people didn't ask, "What kind of life do you want?" Or, "What kind of human do you want to be?" They asked one question. What do you want to become? Become something. Become useful. Become productive. School rewarded marks. Marks decided college.
College decided job.
Job decided respect. Slowly, quietly, without asking you, your worth got linked to your work. And one day someone asked, "So, what do you do?" And without realizing it, you handed over your identity. Here's where it gets dangerous. When work becomes who you are, every success feels temporary, and every failure feels personal. If you get promoted, you feel valuable. If you don't, you feel invisible. If someone praises your work, you feel alive. If someone criticizes it, you feel attacked. Because now, they're not judging your work. They're judging you. That's why you overthink emails. That's why meetings make you anxious. That's why you carry work stress home. That's why weekends don't feel restful. Your body may be at home, but your identity is still at work. There is a fear most people never say out loud. It's not, "What if I lose my job?" The real fear is this. If I lose my job, who will I be? Because if your job is your identity, losing it feels like losing yourself. That's why layoffs break people emotionally, not financially. That's why retirement scares people. That's why people stay in toxic jobs. Not because they love the work, but because they don't know who they are without it. Let me tell you a story. A man worked for 22 years in the same company, never missed deadlines, never said no, always loyal. One morning he was called into a meeting. HR smiled politely and used words like restructuring and business decision. In 10 minutes, his role was gone. That night, he didn't cry about money. He cried about silence.
No emails.
No calls. No one needed him. For the first time in decades, he didn't know who he was. Because his job wasn't just his work. It was his identity. Society tells you, love your work. Be passionate. Give your 100%. It sounds inspiring, but there's a hidden cost. When your entire emotional life is invested in work, you become fragile. Because jobs change. Companies change. Markets change. But no one teaches you how to stay whole. When work changes, no one tells you that you are allowed to be more than useful.
Before this job,
you laughed without checking the time. You enjoyed things without monetizing them. You mattered without producing results. You were curious. You were alive. You were human. That version of you didn't disappear. It was just ignored, buried under expectations, responsibilities, and the pressure to be someone. Being productive does not mean being purposeful. You can stay busy all day and still feel empty at night. Because purpose comes from meaning, not output. Work can support your life. It should never replace it. Your value does not increase because you work longer hours.
You are not a machine.
You are not a role. You are not a job title. You are a human being, having a life. If this feels uncomfortable, that's a good sign. Because for the first time, you are separating who you are from what you do. And Chapter 2, it hurts how work quietly hijacked your life. You didn't wake up one day and decide to give your entire life to work. No one forced you. No one announced it. There was no dramatic moment. Work didn't take over loudly. It entered quietly. So quietly that you didn't even notice. When your life started shrinking around it, it always begins with something small. Just stay late today. Just finish this one project. Just answer this email. Just work this weekend. Just this once. And you agreed. Not because you were weak, but because you were responsible. You wanted to be reliable. You wanted to be committed. You wanted to be seen as someone who cares. But work has a habit. It never stops at once. It borrows your time, again and again, until it forgets to return it. At first, it feels like ambition. You tell yourself you're building something. You tell yourself this phase will pass. But slowly, ambition mixes with fear. Fear of falling behind. Fear of being replaced. Fear of becoming irrelevant. Fear of not being enough. And one day, you realize something uncomfortable. You're no longer working because you love it. You're working because you're afraid to stop. Society praises this fear. They call it hustle. They call it dedication. They call it grind. They applaud long hours. They admire exhaustion. No one asks what it's costing you. Being busy becomes your identity. When someone asks how you are, you say, busy. As if busy means important. As if rest means lazy. As if slowing down means failing. So you fill your calendar. You fill your phone. You fill every quiet moment. Because silence feels dangerous. In silence, you might hear a question you've been avoiding. Is this all there is? Work didn't hijack your time first. It hijacked your mind. You wake up thinking about work. You shower thinking about work. You eat while scrolling work messages. You lie in bed thinking about tomorrow. Even when you're not working, you're working. Your body may be resting, but your mind never clocks out. That's why you feel tired. Even after a full night's sleep, your brain never rested. Remember weekends? When Saturdays felt light. When Sundays felt slow. Now weekends feel like unfinished weekdays. You check emails at dinner. You reply to messages on family time. You feel guilty for resting. And when Monday comes closer, a quiet anxiety starts building. Not because you hate your job, but because your job has taken too much space in your life. Technology made it worse. Work no longer stays at the office. It lives in your pocket. One notification can steal your mood. One message can ruin an evening. One email can follow you on vacation. And you respond. Not because it's urgent, but because you're afraid of being unavailable. Availability becomes loyalty. Loyalty becomes expectation. And expectation becomes pressure. Slowly, something dangerous happens. Your self-worth becomes conditional. Good workday equals good mood. Bad workday equals bad life. Your emotions start depending on outcomes you don't fully control. Deadlines, feedback, approval, targets. When something goes wrong, you don't say, "This task failed." You say, "I failed." That's when work crosses the line. You stop checking in with yourself. Not your performance. Not your results. Yourself. How you feel. What you enjoy. What you miss. Work teaches you to postpone these questions. I'll live after this project. I'll rest after this promotion. I'll enjoy life after this phase. But the phase never ends. Life keeps waiting. Work pays you money, but it charges you emotionally. It charges your peace, your presence, your relationships, your health. And it doesn't send a bill. It collects slowly, through irritation, through numbness, through constant fatigue, through a quiet loss of joy. You don't break suddenly. You fade. You confuse motion with progress. You're always busy, always moving, always doing. But movement doesn't always mean direction. You can run all day. And still, Chapter 3. Burnout is not laziness. Your work is not your life. You are not lazy. Let that land. You are tired. You are overwhelmed. You are emotionally exhausted. But somewhere along the way, you learned to call exhaustion laziness. And that misunderstanding made you fight yourself instead of healing.
Think about this.
When your phone battery runs low, you don't shame it. You charge it. But when your energy runs low, you blame yourself. You push harder. You drink more coffee. You scroll motivation. You ignore the signal. Because you were taught that strong people don't get tired. But even machines overheat. You are human. Burnout is not just feeling tired. Burnout is emotional depletion. You wake up already exhausted. Small tasks feel heavy. Things you once cared about feel distant. And the confusing part? You still show up. You still perform. You still smile. So people say, you're doing fine. But inside, something feels empty. That emptiness is burnout. Here's the truth most people miss. Burnout doesn't happen to people who don't care. It happens to people who care too much. To responsible people.
To dependable people.
To people who don't know how to stop. You burned out because you gave more. Then you replenished. Because you said yes too often. Because you carried pressure quietly. Because you didn't want to disappoint anyone. Burnout is not failure. It's proof that you tried to carry too much alone. Some pressure is visible.
Deadlines.
Meetings. Targets. But burnout comes from invisible pressure. Pressure to always improve. Pressure to always be available. Pressure to always be strong. Pressure to never slow down. Because slowing down feels like falling behind. So you keep going, even when your body is asking you to stop. At some point, motivation stops working. Not because you became weak, but because burnout is not a motivation problem. It's a capacity problem. You don't need more push. You need more space. But instead of listening, you judge yourself. I should be more disciplined. I'm becoming lazy. I need to try harder.
No.
You need rest. You need relief. You need compassion. Have you noticed something strange? When you finally rest, you don't feel peaceful. You feel guilty. Your mind says, you should be doing something useful. That voice is not wisdom. That voice is conditioning. You were trained to believe that rest must be earned. But rest is not a reward. It's a requirement. Burnout steals joy quietly. You don't break down. You don't cry every day. You just stop feeling deeply. You laugh, but it feels shallow. You achieve, but it feels empty. This numbness is not weakness. It's your nervous system trying to protect you. Let me say this clearly. If you are burned out, there is nothing wrong with you. Something wrong happened to you. Too much pressure. Too little recovery. Too many expectations. Too little permission to be human. You adapted to survive. Now your system needs care. Burnout often makes you think, I want to quit everything. But many times, you don't want to quit life. You want relief. You don't want to stop working forever. You want breathing space. There is a difference. Rest before you destroy something. That doesn't need to be destroyed. Your body speaks before it breaks. Through constant fatigue. Through headaches. Through irritability. Through loss of focus. Through sleep problems. Burnout is your body saying, this pace is not sustainable.
Not.
You are failing. Imagine speaking to yourself the way you speak to someone you love. You wouldn't say, you're lazy. You would say, you've been carrying a lot. Self-compassion is not weakness. It's intelligence. Because healing starts when blame ends. Instead of asking, what's wrong with me?
Ask,
what has been draining me? What can you pause? What can you release? What can you protect? Small changes save lives.
take a breath.
You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not lazy. You are tired. In a system that rewards exhaustion. In the next chapter, we'll talk about a hard truth. Your job can leave you. Your life can't. For now, be gentle with yourself. Burnout is not laziness. It's a signal. And signals are meant to be listened to. Chapter 4. Your job can leave you. Your life can't. Your work is not your life. There is a truth most people avoid. Not because it's complicated, but because it's uncomfortable. Your job can leave you. Your life can't. And yet most people protect their job. more than they protect their life. For years, you were told to look for stability, work hard, be loyal, don't question too much. If you do everything right, you'll be safe. But the world changed. Markets change. Technology replaces. Companies restructure. Decisions are made in rooms you're not in, not because you failed, but because systems move. Loyalty feels personal, but organizations don't feel loyalty. They follow numbers. They follow survival. They follow profit. This doesn't make them cruel. It makes them systems. Systems don't remember sacrifices. They remember outcomes. Layoffs don't ask how hard you worked. They don't ask how many nights you stayed late. They don't ask how loyal you were. They look at spreadsheets. And when the decision comes, it comes fast. A calendar invite, a polite conversation, a locked account. Suddenly, the place you gave years to no longer needs you. Losing a job hurts financially, but it breaks people emotionally. Because you didn't just lose income. You lost routine. You lost structure. You lost belonging. And when identity is tied to work, job loss feels like self-loss. Retirement tells the same story, just more quietly. People imagine rest, but many feel emptiness. Not because they hate free time, but because their identity retired with their job. When work disappears, the question returns. Who am I now? That question scares people more than uncertainty.
You were never meant
To be one role forever. Life is not a single title. It's many roles. Worker,
friend, partner, parent,
learner, human. When work takes over everything, there is nothing left to hold you when it ends. Think of life like an investment. If all your value is in one place, one loss destroys you. Work is the same. When all your time, energy, and meaning go into work, any disruption becomes a crisis. Balance is not laziness. It's protection. Work is a transaction. You exchange skills for money. Respect can exist. Friendships can form.
but work is not family.
When you expect emotional security from a system, you get hurt. Detach emotionally, not irresponsibly. Your loyalty belongs elsewhere. It belongs to your health, to your relationships, to your values,
To your peace, because these stay.
when jobs don't. Understanding this truth doesn't mean living in fear. It means living aware. Work well. Be responsible. But don't build your entire identity on something you don't control. Build skills. Build savings. Build inner strength. So if work leaves, you remain standing. When work is no longer your center, life becomes wider. You breathe easier. You sleep better. You choose more consciously. You stop asking work to validate your existence. You start validating yourself. This chapter is not about quitting. It's about reordering. Work supports life. Life does not support work. When this order is clear, pressure reduces. Because your worth is no longer held hostage by a job title. One day, this job will end. Not in fear, in reality. And life will continue. You will still wake up. You will still breathe. You will still matter. Remember this. Your job can leave you. Your life can't. In the next chapter, we'll ask a deeper question. Who are you when no one is watching?
For now,
Hold this truth gently. It's not meant to scare you. It's meant to free you. Chapter 5. Who are you when no one is watching? Your work is not your life. When no one is watching, who are you? Not the version that performs. Not the version that explains. Not the version that proves. Just you. This chapter is not about answers. It's about awareness. Every day, you wear masks. The professional mask. The strong mask. The responsible mask. Masks help you function. They help you survive. But when you forget, there is a face underneath. You lose touch with yourself. You start living for how you are seen instead of how you feel. Most people live in performance mode. They ask, how do I look? How am I perceived? Am I doing enough? Presence mode asks something else.
How do I feel right now?
Performance is loud. Presence is quiet. And because presence doesn't get applause, it's often ignored. But presence is where life happens. Have you noticed how silence feels uncomfortable? The moment things slow down, you reach for your phone. Not because you need information, but because silence removes distraction. And without distraction, questions appear. Am I happy? Am I fulfilled? Am I living intentionally? This chapter invites you
To sit with those questions.
without rushing to escape. Online, you are curated,
Filtered.
edited, explained. Offline, you are human, uncertain, messy.
Real.
But over time, many people begin to believe their online self is the real one. They chase likes, validation, visibility, and slowly lose connection with their inner world. So ask yourself gently, who are you? When there is no feedback, there were things you once loved, not because they paid you, not because they impressed anyone. You loved them because they made you feel alive. Music, writing, walking, learning, creating. At some point, you labeled them unproductive and left them behind. But those weren't hobbies. They were clues. Many people avoid self-reflection because they fear what they might find. What if I'm not special? What if I'm average? But ordinary is not failure. Ordinary is honest. Extraordinary lives are built by ordinary people.
Who listen to themselves.
You don't need to be impressive. You need to be true. Ask yourself this. If achievements disappeared,
Who would you be?
if no one praised you, what would still matter? Achievements became armor. And armor is heavy. It's okay to set it down. Imagine spending a day with yourself. No goals.
No productivity. No agenda.
Just curiosity. What would you enjoy? What would you avoid? What would you notice? You cannot build a meaningful life without knowing who is living it. When titles disappear, values remain.
Kindness. Curiosity.
Honesty, freedom,
Peace.
values guide you. When roles don't, what matters to you, even when no one sees it, that answer is closer to your identity than any job title. You were a person before you were productive. You didn't enter this world to be useful. You entered it to be alive. Usefulness came later. Don't confuse the two. There is a difference between being alone and feeling lonely. Being alone can be peaceful. Loneliness comes from disconnection. Many people feel lonely, not because they lack people, but because they lack connection with themselves. Reconnection heals loneliness. This chapter is permission. Permission to not know everything. Permission to change your mind. Permission to be human. You don't owe the world a performance. You owe yourself honesty. Let this question stay with you.
Who are you?
When no one is watching, you don't need to answer it today. Just notice. Because the more you notice, the more you reconnect. In the next chapter, we'll talk about money. Not as a dream, not as a villain, but as a trade-off.
For now.
Sit with yourself. You might discover you were never lost, just unheard. Chapter 6. Money is important, but peace is priceless. Your work is not your life. Let's be honest. Money matters. Anyone who says money doesn't matter has either never struggled or is trying to sound wise. Money pays rent. Money buys food. Money creates safety. But there's a question most people never ask. How much money is enough to cost you your peace? Money didn't start as the problem. It started as a tool. But slowly, money became a measurement. More money meant more respect. More money meant more security. More money meant more success. And without noticing, money stopped being about comfort and started being about worth. At some point, the number you thought was enough stopped being enough because comparison entered the room. Someone always earns more. Someone always lives bigger. Someone always looks more successful, and comparison turns comfort into pressure. As income grows, expenses quietly follow, not because you became greedy,
but because standards changed.
what once felt luxurious now feels normal. What once felt normal now feels unacceptable. So you work harder, not to live better, but to maintain a life that no longer excites you. Money always asks for trade-offs:
Time,
energy, presence.
health.
At first, it feels temporary. I'll push now. I'll relax later. But later keeps moving. One day you realize you're earning well, but sleeping poorly, smiling in public, breaking down in private. That's when money becomes expensive. Many people say, I'll be happy after I earn more. But happiness doesn't arrive automatically with income, because happiness is not a destination. It's a condition of how you live. If you postpone peace today, you train your mind to postpone it forever. There is fear behind most money chasing. Fear of falling behind. Fear of losing status. Fear of becoming irrelevant. Fear of disappointing others. Fear-based money never feels safe. No matter how much you earn, fear keeps whispering, what if it's not enough? When all your time, energy, and meaning go into work, any disruption becomes a crisis. Balance is not laziness. It's protection. Work is a transaction. You exchange skills for money. Respect can exist. Friendships can form.
But work is not family.
When you expect emotional security from a system, you get hurt. Detach emotionally, not irresponsibly. Your loyalty belongs elsewhere. It belongs to your health, to your relationships, to your values,
To your peace. Because these stay.
when jobs don't. Understanding this truth doesn't mean living in fear. It means living aware. Work well. Be responsible. But don't build your entire identity on something you don't control. Build skills. Build savings. Build inner strength. So if work leaves, you remain standing. When work is no longer your center, life becomes wider. You breathe easier. You sleep better. You choose more consciously. You stop asking work to validate your existence. You start validating yourself. This chapter is not about quitting. It's about reordering. Work supports life. Life does not support work. When this order is clear, pressure reduces, because your worth is no longer held hostage by a job title. One day, this job will end, not in fear, in reality, and life will continue. You will still wake up. You will still breathe. You will still matter. Remember this. Your job can leave you. Your life can't. In the next chapter, we'll ask a deeper question. Who are you when no one is watching?
For now.
Hold this truth gently. It's not meant to scare you. It's meant to free you. Chapter 7. Detaching without becoming irresponsible. Your work is not your life. When people hear the word detachment, they panic. They think it means quitting. They think it means not caring. They think it means becoming careless. But detachment is not about doing less. It's about attaching wisely. You can do your job well without letting it define your worth. Professional commitment is not the same as emotional attachment. You can be responsible, reliable, and skilled without carrying work inside your head and heart all the time. Most people attach deeply to work because it feels safe. Work gives structure, routine, identity, but emotional overattachment creates fragility. When your mood depends on feedback, targets, or approval, you lose inner stability. There is a difference between caring and carrying. Caring means doing your best. Carrying means taking work home emotionally. Caring ends with effort. Carrying continues as anxiety. Your job does not require that. Boundaries are not disrespect. They are clarity. They tell others how you work best. Burned out people don't perform better. They just suffer silently. Detachment does not mean ignoring results. It means understanding what you control and what you don't. You control effort, preparation, integrity. You don't control outcomes, other people's decisions, or company politics. Detachment says, I will give my best, but I will not destroy myself over things I can't control. Here's something surprising.
Destaca professionals.
Often perform better because fear clouds judgment. That guilt is conditioning leaving your system. Being responsible does not mean saying yes to everything. It does not mean being available all the time. True responsibility includes responsibility toward yourself, because exhausted people make poor decisions. Healthy detachment looks like calm professionalism, clear communication, consistent effort, emotional neutrality toward outcomes. It does not look like neglect. There is strength in steadiness. Many people think they need to quit to feel better. Often, they don't need to quit. They need to detach. Detach from constant availability. Detach from perfectionism. Detach from emotional overinvestment. Energy returns when pressure reduces. Ask yourself this. If this job disappeared tomorrow, would I still respect myself? If the answer feels uncertain, detachment is needed. Your worth must live outside your role. Detachment is not escape. It is maturity. You can work with excellence without suffering emotionally. You can care deeply without carrying everything. In the next chapter, we'll talk about redefining success. Not the version you inherited, but the one you choose.
For now,
Do your work, then come back to your life. Because work is something you do. It is not who you are. Chapter 8. Success Redefined. Your work is not your life. Most of your life, you didn't define success. You inherited it. It came from family expectations, society, comparison, and noise. And because you never questioned it, you spent years chasing something you weren't sure you even wanted. This chapter is about pausing and asking a different question. What if success means something else? The old definition of success is loud. More money, more status, more recognition, more visibility. It looks impressive. It photographs well, but it often feels empty because it values appearance more than experience. It asks, how does your life look?
not.
How does your life feel? The old model has no finish line. There is always another level, another title, another upgrade. As long as success is external, you never arrive. You just keep chasing. Chasing creates exhaustion. Arriving creates peace. What is the point of success if you are never present to enjoy it? Success without health is fragile. Success without relationships is lonely. Success without peace is survival with decoration. Real success supports life. It does not consume it. Many people look successful, but feel trapped because maintaining the image requires constant effort. Image needs attention. Life needs presence. When success depends on image, anxiety grows. When success depends on alignment, calm appears. Redefining success starts inside. It asks quieter questions. Do I have time to breathe? Do I sleep well? Do I enjoy my days? Am I proud of how I live? These questions don't trend, but they matter. Success is alignment. When your work matches your values. When your pace matches your capacity. When your lifestyle matches your priorities. Aligned success feels lighter. You still work hard. You just don't fight yourself. Fast success often burns people out. Slow success builds something stronger. Confidence.
Skill.
Stability. Slow does not mean small. It means sustainable. You are allowed to change the goal. The goal you set years ago does not have to control your future. Growth changes priorities. Changing direction is not failure. It is maturity. Ask yourself something important. When will it be enough? Enough money. Enough work. Enough achievement. If you don't answer this, society will. And society's answer is never. There is public success and private success. Public success seeks applause. Private success seeks peace. Public success looks good. Private success feels good.
You don't need to reject one.
But you should know which one is guiding your life. Imagine success 5 years from now. Not numbers. Not titles. How do your days feel? Who is around you? How do you treat yourself? That image is your definition. Protect it. Comparison destroys personal success because someone else's life was not designed for you. When you stop comparing, clarity appears, and clarity reduces pressure. You don't have to chase what you don't want. You don't have to prove what you already are. Success is not a place you reach someday. It's a way you live daily. In the next chapter, we'll talk about building a life alongside work, not after it. For now, let this truth stay with you. Success should support your life, not replace it. Chapter 9. Building a life alongside work. Your work is not your life. Most people live as if life will start later. After this project. After this promotion. After this phase. But the phase never ends. Life was never meant to be postponed. Work was always meant to be a part of life, not the center of it. When work becomes the center, everything else is pushed to the edges. Health, relationships,
Joy.
balance is not about equal time. It's about intentional attention. Many people design dreams, but never design their days. But your days create your life. What you do every morning, every evening, every in-between moment, that becomes your reality. Time management tries to fit more into life. Time ownership asks, what actually deserves space? If your calendar doesn't reflect your values, your life won't either. Energy matters more than hours. You can have time and still feel empty. Protect what drains you. Notice what restores you. Building a life alongside work means managing energy, not just schedules. Relationships don't survive on leftovers. They need presence, not just availability. 10 minutes of real attention is more valuable than hours of distraction. Health is not optional. Ignoring your body doesn't save time. It steals future time. Movement, rest, nourishment are not luxuries. They are foundations. Life doesn't need grand moments to feel meaningful. Small moments matter. Morning light, a deep breath, music, walking, micro joys. Build a sustainable life. Boundaries create freedom, not unlimited access. Clear limits. When you protect your time and energy, life feels spacious again. You need parts of life that exist without productivity. Hobbies, learning,
Community.
these are not distractions. They are anchors. When work shakes, these hold you. Life happens in the in-between moments.
Commutes.
Breaks, waiting, presence turns these into living moments. Balance is not perfect. Some weeks lean toward work, some toward life. The goal is awareness, not perfection. Ask yourself regularly, is my body okay? Is my mind okay? Are my relationships okay? If one is ignored too long, everything suffers. You don't need a new life. You need a better relationship with the one you already have. Work can stay, but life must lead. In the final chapter, we'll talk about permission. Permission to live.
For now.
Start small. Live daily. Build a life alongside work. Chapter 10. You are allowed to live. Your work is not your life. Most of your life, you were waiting for the right time, waiting for stability, waiting for permission. Permission to slow down. Permission to choose yourself. Permission to live. But no one ever gave it. So, let this be the moment you stop waiting. You are allowed to live. Somewhere along the way, you learned a dangerous idea. That life must be earned. First work hard. Then rest. First achieve. Then enjoy. But life does not wait for achievement. Life happens now. And every moment you postpone living, you don't get it back. You were never born to be productive. You were born to experience life. Productivity is a tool, not a purpose. When productivity becomes identity, life becomes small. This chapter opens it again.
There is a voice inside you.
That keeps judging. You should be doing more. You are falling behind. Others are doing better. That voice is not truth. It is conditioning. You don't need to fight it. You just need to stop letting it lead. Rest does not need justification. You don't need to be exhausted to deserve peace. You don't need a reason to slow down. Rest is not weakness. It is a human need. Choosing yourself does not make you selfish. It makes you honest. You cannot live your life as a supporting character. You deserve to be present in your own story. Life is not waiting in the future. It is happening in small moments, in your breath, in your body. In this moment, when you stop rushing, life becomes visible. You don't need to fix everything before you start living. You don't need to be perfect. Messy lives can be meaningful. Unfinished journeys can be beautiful. Stop waiting to be ready. You're allowed to live now. Living consciously brings fear. Fear of judgment. Fear of uncertainty. Fear of not fitting in. But fear is not a warning to stop. It is a sign you are alive. At some point, you stop trusting yourself. You trusted schedules, deadlines, expectations. Now it's time to return. You know more than you think you do. Imagine a life that feels like yours. Not impressive, not perfect, but honest, aligned,
Alive.
that life begins with permission. One day, work will end. Emails will stop. Titles will disappear. Life will ask one question. Did you live?
Let that guide you.
You are enough. Without proving. You don't need to earn the right to exist. You already belong here. This book was never about leaving work. It was about returning to life. Work can stay in your story. It just doesn't get to be the whole story. So take a breath. Let go of the rush. Let go of the guilt. You are allowed to live. And living is not something you do later. It's something you begin now.